Hey guys, how's it going? So I'm just gonna film another video because I don't think I talk about this enough, but yet it is probably the one thing that has the biggest impact on my life, and it has the biggest impact on my entire entrepreneurial journey. And honestly, it's also the one thing and the only thing that keeps me going through this journey of me trying to start business and me trying to pursue my dreams of online entrepreneurship. And it's a little funny. I kind of want to tell you a bit of a story about how I was like 2 years ago or so. And I don't even recognize who I was 2 years ago. It's a little bit funny because 2 years ago, I literally had no idea who I was. Simple as that. I had no idea who I was. I was going with what my environment was pushing alongside me, what my environment was pressuring on me. I was just going with the flow, right? And I think that's like the worst thing you could do, which is going with the flow. Because sometimes the flow does not lead you into the right direction, and in today's world usually it does, right? Unfortunately. And yeah, 2 years ago I had absolutely no idea who I was, and looking back, I have no idea how I got to this point as well, but it was all influenced by this one thing that entirely changed my life. And I'll tell you guys a little bit of a story. 2 years ago, I was 14, 13, something around that, right? Maybe a little more than 2 years ago. I was going on about just doing nonsense. I don't even know what I was doing, guys. I was like partying at 13 years old. Like, what kind of 13 years old girl goes out there to party? Like, that was my environment, that's how bad my environment was for me. And all I did was look for fun. All I did was look for pleasure. All I did as a 13-year-old girl was to just look for something entertaining. I would sit at home and watch an entire series, literally season 1, season 2, in one day. That is how unpurposeful my life was before. And I think at the same time, that was also the thing that basically represented the fact that I was lost, right? I had no direction to go down. And I heard this one quote, actually, a very, very beautiful quote that said, "A man without a purpose will distract himself with pleasure." And obviously I'm not a man, but that 100% applied to me, which is the fact that I was distracting myself with pleasure because I had no idea who I was. I had no idea what I was doing with my life, and I was simply doing what everybody else was telling me to do. And to be honest with you guys, like, it was like that for a long time. I just went on about 2 years, maybe a year and a half, just doing nonsense. And eventually, I felt guilt from it. Eventually, I had this little gut feeling and realized that, this is not right. I'm 13 years old. What am I doing? There's no reason as to why a 13-year-old girl should be out partying. And it was just a mess, honestly. As I gradually continued, though, that sensation and that guilt and that pressure telling me this wasn't right, it just kept getting stronger and stronger. It really did. And I remember this one night, I had come back from a party, right? I was also quite, like, not sober. And I came back home that night, and something just felt very, very, very off. It just felt very off, and I sat in my bed. I don't know what time it was. I think it was like 2, 3 a.m. I sat in my bed and I could not sleep, right? And at some point, guys, I'm telling you, something just made me bawl my eyes out. Like, I just started bawling my absolute eyes out. And for some reason, my first instinct was to pray and was to call God, which was very unusual for me because I had never been that vulnerable in my life. I think that one thing that seriously broke me through that barrier of pretending and breaking through that barrier of ignoring that pressure that I was feeling the entire time was just being vulnerable for once. That night, guys, I bawled my eyes out until it was sunrise. I was begging God for forgiveness. I was saying sorry, and I was just completely surrendering myself, which is kind of, strange, guys, because it went so far for me at such a young age. It went so downhill for me. I had no idea who I was, so I had to find myself in God. That's the degree that it was at. And no 13-year-old girl should have to go through that. I'm telling you this right now. No 13, 14-year-old girl should have to go through what I went through. It was just coincidentally the fact that I was in this environment. I grew up in a really big night city. If you know about Bangkok, you know about Bangkok. It had a massive, massive impact on how my childhood turned out, right? And so that night, I remember I had just bawled my eyes out for hours and hours, just talking to God and just completely surrendering myself to God, telling him that I wanted to become the best version of myself. I don't even know how I transitioned from me going to parties to me talking about becoming the best version of myself within like a few hours or like 1 hour. But I went from coming home from a party to bawling my eyes out to God, telling him I wanted to become the best version of myself, telling him that I was done with what I was doing, telling him that I didn't want to deal with this and that I was tired of it, that I was tired of myself. And guys, to be honest with you, you're gonna have to go through that at some point in your life. You're not gonna have to, but I think the fact that I destroyed myself, it also forced me to build myself back up. And I'm gonna touch on this later on, but I went to sleep, right? I just kind of passed out. I woke up the next morning with big puffy eyes, and the first thing that I did, guys, was I studied. It was a very weird transition, but the first thing that I did when I woke up was I studied. And later on as well, I had found out that I actually had COVID from the party, which was a little bit of a shame, but I basically had to stay home for 2 weeks, right? It's a little bit of a coincidence, but those 2 weeks really, really changed my perspective and my life, right? So obviously I woke up, found out I had COVID. I was studying and I found out I had COVID, and I'm like, oh my god, I literally have 2 weeks without school. I'm just gonna stay home and study. I'm telling you guys, I went from coming home from this party to spending the next 2 weeks after that studying. Hear me out on this. I was studying from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. every single day for 2 weeks. I had written an entire book full of notes. It's in my cupboard back there. I still have that book. I spent that entire 2 weeks learning every single thing that I possibly could about how to become the best version of myself, about business, about entrepreneurship. I just wanted to become the best version of myself in every single way possible. That's what it was. And obviously becoming the best version of yourself, you do need financial abundance, right? That's why I was studying business as well. And I've always known about the online sort of business industry. At least I had an idea about it. I was seeing some content about it online. But in those 2 weeks, guys, I went all in on studying for this. And I had learned so much in those 2 weeks. It had set such an amazing tone for, I guess, the momentum I needed to start working, right? And it didn't really turn out that well, because what I did was I learned everything, right? I created a dropshipping store. That was the first thing I did, was I started dropshipping, and it did not work, I'm telling you. But it was the effort, right? It was the effort. So after that, you know, I really picked up that habit of, okay, I'm really gonna have to make this work. Those 2 weeks of isolation completely changed my mindset. And I just told myself, okay, I'm gonna make this work. And since then, I've been working and studying literally every single day. Well, obviously, it went from me failing dropshipping to me trying something else to me trying other things. But sort of reflecting back on all this, the one thing that completely changed me was God, especially in that moment, okay? Ignore everything that I told you about me, like, you know, coming home from a party or whatever I was doing. But guys, all of that happened, that transition happened because I was calling for God. I literally had nothing in that moment, you know, and that's weird to say as a 13-year-old girl. Well, I'm not 13 now, but back then, I was calling for God because I had nothing, and not even myself. I was just crumbled that night, guys, and it really changed me, honestly. And so, you know, that was the beginning of a very, very hard journey that I had no idea I was setting myself on. And I'll touch into that because obviously after that, I had made that promise to myself that I was going to continue pursuing entrepreneurship no matter what. And, you know, I never broke that promise. I literally got obsessed with studying every single day. I got obsessed with studying. I don't know why I liked it so much. I just got obsessed with it, okay? And every single night I would pray to God. After that night, every single night I prayed to God. Even though I didn't believe in God at that time, the reason why I was praying was because I guess He was the only thing I had at the lowest, right? And your faith in God does not get built within just a few days. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of circumstances, and it takes a lot of situations like these. So that was the first situation that changed it all. After that, obviously, there were many more situations that sort of made me realize, okay, well, this is actually real. And for those who don't believe in that yet, I don't blame you. I don't want to convince you. But what I can tell you is that God absolutely changed my life. And I have no idea where I would be if it wasn't for that night. If it wasn't for that night where I crumbled myself down for God. I literally handed myself to God because I had nothing else but God. And through entrepreneurship, as I promised myself that I was going to pursue entrepreneurship, I kept having those nights where I wasn't drunk, but I was just at my lowest, okay? Whether it was me failing something in my business, whether it was me losing money, I would just turn to God all the time. All I did was turn to God because I had nothing else. I really had nothing else, okay? And I'm still in the very beginning of my phase. I've done a lot more in comparison to then, but that period, really, 14 and whatever, where I was sort of starting a business, but sort of like not really starting a business, that was a very, very, very dark period in my life. And that's weird to say, right? Having that dark period in your life at 14 years old is not normal. It's not healthy. It's not good for a teenage mind. I'm telling you guys, everything that I'm doing right now is so damaging to my brain. But it's the fact that it damaged me so hard, it forced me to build myself back up. Because I couldn't stay damaged. And, I really picked up that faith with God as I continued to pursue entrepreneurship with all those different nights where I kind of realized I was turning to God every single day. And that doesn't mean nothing, It's because I had faith in Him. And how is it that I was pursuing something that had literally no guarantee, pursuing business which literally has no guarantee, and the only thing that was keeping me going was my faith in God? And honestly, guys, it's been such a long journey. I don't even know what to explain and where to start. But the only thing that I can say was I went from believing in God that night that I prayed to Him to me trusting God. And I think entrepreneurship also played a big role in that, which is the fact that even to this day, guys, I'm working out of pure faith right now. I have no idea what I'm doing. To be honest with you, I really don't. Back then, I had no idea either. I had more of no idea. Now I guess I have some kind of direction. But I'm literally operating out of pure faith. Every single time that I fail, I literally have no reason to believe this is going to work. I've had those nights, guys, where everything crumbled for me and I had no reason, nothing to back up the fact that this may be able to work. The only thing that kept me going was God. In those times where nothing was certain, in those times where I have nothing to my name, even to this day, the only thing that keeps me going is God. And it's so crazy, guys, because I'll never be able to explain it. Honestly, I will never be able to explain it. This relationship that I've built with God at such a young age, combined with this journey of entrepreneurship, it's such a complicated yet powerful I guess, form or relationship or journey or whatever you want to call it. It was just the circumstances that I went through, everything that I went through so far up until this point. It was all with faith. I have been working for over a year and a half, studying with no results, skipping parties that I would go to pursue this out of pure faith. I didn't even believe in myself, guys. In the beginning, I didn't even believe in myself. What I believed in was God. That's how far it went. I couldn't believe in myself, so I had to believe in God. Otherwise, it would crumble. Everything would crumble down for me. And so now that I've actually built that relationship with God, I have managed to build that belief with myself because I've achieved a few things that obviously, can give me some kind of idea that I've done something, right? Even though it's minimal, even though it's not what I dream about or what I aim for. But the amount of circumstances that have occurred in my life which lead back to God is honestly, it's unexplainable. It really is. It's unexplainable. Especially as an entrepreneur, it's very complicated, but I guess the only thing that I can say, guys, is just trust God. That's it. Every single thing that I'm doing right now is operating out of pure faith because God was the one that told me. God was the one that showed me. God was the one that led me to this point because I put all of my faith in Him because I had nothing to give to myself. And even up until this point, guys, I'm not that different off. I'm still in this very confusing situation. I'm still in this very beginning phase, even though I've come further than I was before. I've still got a lot of work to do. So this is something that I'm experiencing every single day. And I guess when I talk about the circumstances, it's God will put you in so many different situations within entrepreneurship, within whatever it is that you pursue, within relationships, within yourself, within the way that you think, within your mindset, within your everyday life. God will put you in so many circumstances that will literally crumble you down. I'm telling you guys, God will go out of His way to destroy you because it'll force you to build yourself back up. And that's what I signed up for when I pursued entrepreneurship. I knew that's what it was going to be about. And that doesn't sound amazing, right? Why would God want to destroy me? But it's so that it forces you to build yourself back up, and it forces you to build that strength of being able to become the person who is able to go after all these dreams. And trusting God does not mean God will give you everything you want. It's just simply trusting that God is doing His work. And His work is to make sure that you become the strongest, most abundant version of yourself. And in order to do that, you need to break down, literally. And not break down just once, not break down just a few times. He will test you continuously for years until the day you die, honestly. It's going to obviously be harder in the beginning, and that's why I'm sort of talking about this now, because this is something that I still experience every single day. I go to bed, guys, and I pray to God every single day. It's been a year and a half now. And all of this is happening at the same time as I'm, pursuing entrepreneurship, which makes it even worse, right? Which makes it even worse because entrepreneurship is a very, very big, long journey that will destroy you as well, honestly. And you have God here on this side, and you have entrepreneurship that literally destroy you at the same time. But it's what is completely necessary. You know, and now that I look back, I sort of realized that I went from having no idea what I was doing to now me trusting God in such a way where I know that every single time now, when I'm in a hard situation, when I'm struggling, all I say is, I trust you, God. That is all I say. I can, you know, bawl my eyes out all I want. I can feel the pain all I want. But I suck it up and I remind myself that I trust God. That's really what it is, guys. No matter what it is that you pursue, you just need to trust that God is doing his work. You know, and now leading into the more ambitious side of things and the more greater side of things, as I'm pursuing entrepreneurship, right? It's now within my usual mindset to think that everything I'm working on and everything that I've been working on for the past months, even if I've seen no results, all I say is I trust God. God is doing his work, and God is guiding me down the right direction. My job is to work. That's really what it is. That is the trade-off that you need to have with God. But in order to do that, you need to trust that God will guide you to the right direction. And I've had those nights, guys, where I would sit down or lay down in this exact bed and just talk to God every night. You know, this is something that I still do, and I don't think I'll ever stop doing this. But I just sit down on this bed, guys, and talk to God and tell him, I trust you in making this work for me. Even at my lowest, you know, like I'm still in the beginning phase. I still have those lows. Even at my lowest, right? All I say is, I trust you, God. I trust you, God, in making this work. I trust you, God, in giving me what you know I dream about every single day and what you know I work towards every single day. Because God is watching every single thing that you do. You know, and there's no coincidence. It may sound insane that I'm talking about this right now, but it is no coincidence. And I'm saying this out of pure, strong faith. Even though I'm sitting here in my tiny room, working towards my dreams with like barely anything to my name, I'm saying this with pure faith. Because I know that later on, once I'm successful and once I get every single thing that I want, I'll look back on this video and know that it wasn't just me speaking, but it was actual pure trust. That's really what it is, guys, and that's what you call delusion. But I've accepted that because God has saved me in ways where I can't even explain it, honestly. I have no idea where I would be without God, and I have no idea how I'm gonna do this without God. That's why it's so important to have that relationship with God, to just trust God with what he does. If you want something in life, you need to trust God and you need to show him that you're worthy of it. I guess it's simply about putting in the work and trusting the fact that God will give you exactly what it is that you want if you do the work enough. That's really what it is. And I know that this is a journey that is going to keep going for a very long time, and I'm going to continuously build this relationship, but I'm telling you guys, like, this is what I rely on. Everything I'm doing is operated out of pure faith. And there's so much power in that. And that's really, really what you need in life. As insane as this sounds, it's what you need in life to achieve something great. And yeah, honestly, that's really what it's about. And I understand that it sounds crazy at the moment. It sounds crazy when I'm saying this at 16 years old with nothing to my name, with me just working in my tiny room on my business that I operate out of pure faith. I know it sounds insane with me talking about this now, but later on, guys, as I'm documenting my journey, I know that later on I'll be able to talk about that same topic, look back on this video, and know that it was never, ever just an insane thought, and that it was God the entire time. Me telling you this and everything that I'm doing right now is all under the power and glory of God. That's really what it is. And I don't have much else to say. It's not something that is explainable. God doesn't explain things to you. He just shows you. And you need to trust in the visions that he breathes in your mind, because that's exactly how I got to this point of dedicating my entire life to entrepreneurship and to this mission and to these dreams that I have. God will communicate that with you by putting you through the toughest challenges ever and getting you to experience the growth and getting you to realize through experiences and not by telling you. God will first test you with these circumstances to break you down and to make sure that you have that strength to handle certain things. And you just need to learn from it. But one thing that I do know is that God will never put you through something that you can't handle. God will never put you through something that you can't handle. And if you are going through something that is so incredibly hard, it's because God knows you can handle it. It's because God knows you have that strength to be able to handle that. Even if you crumble yourself down, he knows that you have that strength to build yourself back up. As long as you just trust God, guys, it's gonna go well for you. You just need to continuously put in the work, and that's why patience is so important, especially in entrepreneurship. That's why patience is so important in entrepreneurship, is because it shows God that you trust him. It shows God that even if nothing is going your way, you have the patience to keep working and to keep showing up, to show God that you're worthy of it. Really, that's what it is. And yeah, like I even think I'm like sounding insane saying this, but at the same time I don't feel like I am either, because I've felt it all. I've experienced it all. I can't deny it. I really cannot deny it. I cannot deny the presence of God in this journey. And I've just completely surrendered to him. The vulnerability that I guess put out for myself to God is what also empowered me, I guess, because me being vulnerable with God and also on this YouTube channel is me being authentic, is me being the truest form of myself to both God and to you and to my future self and to this channel and to this mission. And that alone shows God how badly I want it. It's about being truthful, and it's about actually trusting God so much that you open yourself up in such a way like this, such as this. And I get it, again, like I get that it sounds insane. I get that it sounds like, what are you talking about? And to be honest, guys, like I won't ever be able to explain it, but the only thing I can do is just show you. It's the same thing with God. God cannot tell me, God cannot verbally explain to me what this vision is, what this future is, and what this future holds for me. the only thing that he can do is put me through it and show me through experience. And it's the same thing here. Like, I can't tell you guys what's going to happen. All I can do is document my journey and be vulnerable at the beginning, especially in the stage where I'm, still in the beginning of my phase. I just need to be vulnerable and to be as authentic as possible so that eventually I can show you, And I know it's going to happen because I have that much faith in God, guys, and that's really, I genuinely hope that one day you can all realize that. Maybe not now, but I genuinely hope that you do. Because the way that God has empowered me, guys, it's crazy. He is genuinely the only thing that keeps me going. And now that I realize it, like, I actually have nothing to my name. I have nothing to rely on but God. That's what I mean by risk, Like, people say that that's risky, and yes, it's risky, but I have so much faith that I'm willing to take all that risk because I trust God so much. And that trust is what led me to take that risk, and that risk is the thing that's going to get me that great life. It all starts with God, guys. It really does. And again, like, I won't be able to explain it verbally right now correctly, but I hope you can all realize it once I'm able to document me living in my dream life, hopefully later on. I hope you can all look back on this moment eventually and realize that it was all correlated, okay? And I understand if it's not something that's understandable right now, it's not something that's believable right now, I don't want to try and convince you. But that's why I'm documenting my journey, so that I can show you the entire thing, just as how God showed me the entire thing before it's actually manifested. And I guess that's sort of what I wanted to talk about today, because this is something that really impacts me every single day. It really is. And it's so powerful, guys. It's really the only thing that keeps me going. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I am genuinely looking forward to talk more about this, because it truly is the foundation to who I am as a person. And yeah, but apart from that, I hope you got a lot of value from this video, hopefully. And honestly, the only thing I can say is just trust God, okay? Trust God and his work. Trust God and abide by God, guys. Surrender to God. He will give you what you need in order to get what you want, okay? But anyways, I hope you got a lot of value from this video, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm gonna start working a little bit. Good night, guys.